21st, 2024 IDA regular meeting. The documents for the meeting can be accessed and are posted to the IDA's website at www.suffolkida.org/resources under the board meetings. Kelly, can we do a roll call?
Absolutely. Kevin Harvey.
Present.
Chris Damianos.
Present.
Josh Lutter.
Present.
Brian Biedenbender.
Here.
Sarah Lansdale.
Present.
And via Zoom, Greg Casamento.
Present.
Sandra Cochran.
Present.
Thank you. According to resolution number 2024-02A passed by this agency on June 27th, 2024, at the discretion of the chair of the board, individual board members may attend a meeting via video conferencing due to extraordinary circumstances as defined in 1117-22 written procedures, provided, however, that such board members' remote attendance shall comply with all relevant laws related to remote attendance, and that all meetings shall have the minimum number of board members physically present at a location where the public can attend in order to fulfill the board's quorum requirement. Note that a full quorum is present. Thank you.
Great.
We'll move on to public comment.
Yes.
Any members of the public who would like to be heard?
We have not received any, but I will ask the audience once again. Not in the audience. We have not received any comments via info@suffolkida.org.
Thank you so much, Kelly. We will close the public comment period and move on to new business. Sterling North America. Great, Kelly.
So Sterling North America may sound familiar to this board because they appeared before you in 2021. And their original abstract is located in the back of the packet that you have before you, if you'd like to remind yourself of their numbers. So they're a full service commercial printing business, including digital printing production and print management services, primarily for the financial services industry in the tri-state business community. They are before us today to renovate and equip an existing 40,895 square foot building to grow their business. And this includes a very interesting paper waste management system that I'm sure Ed McAllister, the CEO, will speak about in a few minutes. So due to the existing space limitations, this will enable the company to bring back in-house work that they currently had to outsource to an out-of-state vendor, which is really great news for us. This is a $6,020,000 project. There are currently 253 employees employed by Sterling North America. When Ed came before the board back in 21, they came to us and committed to, hold on, I lost my,
12.
I want
12 jobs.
12 jobs, and created more than 100. So, that's a pretty impressive story. So I'm going to invite Ed to come up.
Here or
yeah,
directly
come on
from
up
the
to the table
intimidating
here,
center room?
Table. We're not going to make you sit by the hour. I will discuss the benefits after Ed's presentation and questions ensue. I know the board is looking at potentially 2 different pilots, so we'll have that discussion after Ed has his opportunity. So please.
So this is easy. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time. I want to thank the IDA because the first program that we did really helped propel Sterling to go to the next level. And that's really why I'm before you guys again here today for the financial assistance. I opened Sterling in 2007, which was me and 2 gentlemen in a room. And you fast forward 17 years now, we have 253 employees. We're continuing to grow. I know printing is not, everybody says printing is going away, but from my opinion, it is not. It may be consolidating, but it is certainly not going away, especially as I sit here and watch everybody looking at papers and reading papers. So I'm a Northport guy. I grew up in Suffolk County. I love Long Island. I want to continue to grow my business here. Kelly is exactly right. We want to renovate another building directly across the street from one of my main headquarters. And we want to install new additional printing equipment that will generate more jobs. This is currently work that I am sending out of state, New Jersey, Connecticut, and it's really very similar to what we did the first time. I kind of gave the same spiel with the financial assistance. It really helped me get the equipment, hire the people, and I think we're in the fourth year, and I think the proof of concept has done very well. And I feel like we can really do the same thing here. I am going to be installing or looking to install a paper recycling system where the paper will get, recycled and back out into the market, and it won't just go into the trash. We're doing that now in one of our facilities, but I'm looking to do that, in all my facilities, because ESG is becoming a very big part of my world. So one of the things that Kelly was nice enough to do was I went down to the IDA meeting and I heard about solar. And honestly, I've already reached out to Sun Nation, one of the people down there, to consider it. I have 5 locations here in the Hop Industrial Parks. None of them currently have solar. So this might be another opportunity for me to, work with the IDA.
Great.
So I think that's my spiel. Anyone have any questions?
Questions from the board?
Yeah,
Yes, Josh.
yeah, thanks for coming here today.
Thank you.
Certainly a successful story, and we're always happy to see projects be very successful here in Suffolk County. So just a quick question. I know the buildings that you're consolidating from are roughly the same kind of size square footage, correct?
This is an additional building.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were okay. So it's completely new additional space.
It's a new building. I have 4 current locations. I'm going to be adding this additional building, and then eventually, hopefully, I can sunset one of the buildings and kind of morph some of the work that we're doing into the 4. But currently, I will be operating 5 locations.
Okay, great. And as far as I know, you promised, 12 jobs. It ended up turning into more than 100, which is awesome. Could you just explain, when you expect a certain amount of jobs, what happened that it just boomed more than you thought?
I had a couple of, I took over a couple of other Long Island companies that were looking to sell or quite frankly, just close up. And I think that there was an influx of personnel. The additional printing types that I'm doing have really led to just more jobs. And I'm finding that as Sterling gets bigger, the opportunities are becoming bigger. So whereas, when I was 3 people in an office, maybe a pizza restaurant menu was great. Now I just had J. Crew in looking to give us all their catalogs, about $4 million worth of print. So I'm finding that as Sterling grows, the opportunities are growing. As the name gets out there, the opportunities are becoming bigger. And that's exactly what I see happening.
So that just the scale became more than
Just the
you
scale.
envisioned.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Want to throw it to Sandra or Greg if you have questions remotely.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, great. Okay. Is there a motion from the board?
Not make the motion. I think we have to talk about which thing.
Oh, yes. So thank you. So I'd like to, is there a motion to go into, oh, no, not now.
No, not yet.
Okay.
We can just talk
Got
about.
Okay,
we
then
have
let's talk about it.
individual discussions
Sure.
as to whether or not a 10-year pilot or a 12-year pilot. One of the things they did do was have a discussion with Andrew, who is agency counsel for this particular project, with regards to how a 12-year pilot would fit into the existing UTEP. And it does, fit into, and I have a copy of the UTEP with us today. But Andrew has advised and is happy to certainly speak to it or answer any questions that under the existing facilities, that they would be eligible to receive a 12-year pilot. The discussion that we've been having is in recognition of the creation of more than 100 jobs when 12 were promised. And also the commitment to maintain 261 jobs for the next 10 years as a campus plan through all of his whether it's 5 or 4 locations. Ed has committed to maintaining 261 jobs for the period of the pilot, whether that is 10 or 12 years. So that's what's for consideration for the board today.
So then there's a benefit on both sides. We get a guarantee on 261 jobs,
Good point.
and then gets a guarantee that he's going to get another 2 years worth of tax incentives.
That's correct. Very good point.
Just mechanically, Kelly, how do we do that? So the original, the original term
Yes.
had to decline, the sales tax, the property tax peeled off. So how do we add 2? Do we,
So this would be a different, separate transaction. So
Okay.
buildings mentioned, the original pilot only covers one of these facilities. The others are not in the IDA framework.
so this transaction would be for the
And
additional
this
4?
transaction would
Just
be
one.
for the additional new building,
One.
where he's going to do substantial renovations. And that's why the request for the pilot.
Okay, so then it's a brand new.
Right, so the
That's
old
right.
pilot would burn off on that building.
Okay.
But the benefit, the cost of this, if you will, is providing the pilot benefit, and the benefit is that it will extend the job commitment for a substantial time.
So
period
while-
At a much higher level
Right,
throughout the county. So instead of holding a number of jobs to any particular buildings, it can be satisfied at any one of these locations. But only this one is getting the benefit.
okay, so out of the 5 locations, 2 of them will have a pilot.
Correct.
But for the purposes of measuring jobs, we will include all 5 locations, including the 3 that don't have
That
it,
is
for
correct.
the job total.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm passing out the 2 schedules that we discussed.
So, sorry, how does that work exactly? We consider it a campus plan, but not all buildings necessarily are inclusive of the
So-
plan, so we can still.
So you can provide benefits on one particular structure. I think it's a positive. In fact, that there are others that do not require assistance. And you can tailor the employment environment any way you want to. I think, especially post-COVID, it has become common to not necessarily tie the employment environment within the county to a single location if there are multiple locations, or if employees work from home but report to a particular location. So I think it just gives him the flexibility to move his workforce amongst the various residents that we have.
So we can tie the jobs in all 5 buildings to the one pilot in one building.
Right, so you give the benefit essentially for job creation and retention within the county without necessarily requiring it to be tied to one single address.
And this portion of the UTEP speaks to the property tax abatement on the increased assessed value that resulted in the project for periods up to 15 years. Yes.
so Kelly, Mr. McAllister mentioned that he'd be looking at solar, but for the purposes of this, we're talking about 2 years, and whether or not he did solar, I mean, that other policy is not adopted yet, so but if it were, there's no extra, right? So if we're making a determination here, we're doing a pilot for this building and that's it, and we're not also considering another addition if he were to do solar. Is that correct?
I believe not at this time because the
Okay.
policy is not in place yet.
Okay.
But depending on what the policy will say, I think you will be, potentially eligible or not eligible for additional assistance.
And part of that might depend on timing, so if the policy is adopted and the project has not closed and Mr. McAllister wants to consider that, we would have to come back to the board, right?
And this being a preliminary approval, I think there would be a second bite at the apple and you consider it.
Because the timing is so close, and we'd certainly like to encourage any and all of our clients to participate in the policy, so.
If I may have one
Sure.
question, that, you say that you're committed to creating 8 new jobs with this program the first 2 years, and after completion, maybe you're adding additional 12 jobs in the 3 to 5 year period thereafter. Your track record with providing jobs is pretty good, so can we make a safe assumption that number may also expand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I'd like to commit for the least amount of jobs, but I do anticipate being far greater than.
Especially now with an additional 40,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being honest and the first person that said it that way. No, I get it. But most people try to find another way to say that.
And Josh, just to talk a little bit about the personnel,
Uh-huh.
currently right now, we do utilize our personnel. You may not be working at the same location every day. So we have different machines and different processes in the different buildings. So if we're busy in one building, you may be at that building for the day. So the workforce is kind of bouncing around
Mhm.
between the buildings.
Have we done something like this before as far as,
Yes,
I don't,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, definitely. We had
Yeah.
multiple locations where the job requirement was not like this single one. I have to look back to each transaction, but we definitely did it.
the contract pharmacal is probably the best example of a campus plan, although we have pilots, not on all of their buildings, but on a large portion of it.
Other questions? What's the board thinking in terms of 10 versus 12?
I would move forward.
The difference is $45,000 approximately.
Right.
And we get a commitment for 260 jobs,
2 extra years.
for 2 extra years. I don't think that's such a bad deal for us, and I agree. So, I'm in favor of it.
Sandra, Greg?
I'm in favor of 12 years.
Okay, great.
I am too. I'm sorry. I'm having a little issue with this unmute.
No worries.
It's a thumbs up for me too.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we sit here, right? This is what's supposed to happen, so.
Great, great. So with that sorted out, are we, now is the time?
Yes,
to make
now
a
it's
motion?
time to make a motion.
All right. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make it.
Okay, Chris,
Motion for 12 years.
Second.
second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, do we need-
Aye.
No, we did that at the beginning of the meeting,
Okay.
so.
we're good.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris.
fantastic. Moving on.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ed.
I sincerely mean, it means a lot. It really helps. It's tough to compete out there in the world, and getting some financial assistance is certainly helpful. So I do want to thank everybody.
Let us know when you get to 500.
I'll be back. Thank you.
We hope so.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to see if we could make a motion, if someone can make a motion to go into executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation.
Motion.
There's a second. Second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are in executive session.
Great, I'm gonna ask.